I was halfway through the frozen foods aisle when I felt a light tap on my shoulder. I turned, expecting someone to ask where to find the oat milk or something like that. Instead, a woman I'd never seen before smiled politely and said, "Your daughter is beautiful." At first, I thought she was talking to someone else. I glanced behind me, then back at her, confused. "I don't have a daughter," I said. The woman's smile faded. Her eyebrows pinched together and she looked over my shoulder again. Her voice dropped a little. "She's been following you since the park. I assumed she was yours." My stomach turned. I didn't understand. I slowly turned around, and that's when I saw her. A little girl, no older than 5, tiny. Brown curls tied back with a scrunchie, wearing a faded purple sweatshirt with a unicorn on the front. She was standing just a few feet behind me, holding a stuffed bunny by the ears. She looked up at me, eyes wide. "Can we go home now, Mommy?" I froze. She stepped closer and reached for my hand. I didn't move. I couldn't. I looked at the woman again. She was watching the girl, clearly just as unsettled as I was. "She's been walking behind you for a while," the woman said softly, "at least since you left the park. I was on the bench. I noticed her and thought she was with you." I wasn't sure what to say. I looked back at the little girl. She was now standing right beside me, gently holding my hand like it belonged to her. "I think you're mistaking me for someone else," I told her gently. "I'm not your mom." Her grip didn't change. She just nodded like she'd heard me but didn't believe it. "Come on," she said. "We should go now." My heart was pounding. I looked around the store. A couple of other shoppers were now watching us. I could feel the heat rising in my cheeks. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to scare her, but I also didn't want to make it look like I was walking off with someone else's child. I knelt down to her level. "What's your name?" I asked. She didn't answer. "Do you know where your mom is? Or your dad?" Still nothing. She just looked at me like she was waiting for me to stop asking and start walking. I could feel the woman behind me shifting awkwardly. "I'm sorry," she said. "I didn't mean to cause any confusion. I just thought—" "No, thank you," I said quickly. "You did the right thing." The woman nodded and backed away, disappearing down another aisle. I turned back to the girl. "Where are your parents?" "You are," she said. Her voice was soft, calm, way too calm. I stood up and slowly pulled out my phone. I didn't want to scare her, but I needed help. I tapped the store's front desk and asked for security. "She says I'm her mom," I explained, keeping my voice low, "but I've never seen her before in my life." I glanced down. She was still holding my hand. Sunday was supposed to be simple. I had a short to-do list and just enough energy to get it done. My mom, Denise, had asked for some groceries, and I was heading to the store anyway, so I figured I'd take care of it before lunch. I told her I'd be by in the afternoon with chicken, apples, and her favorite dark chocolate. She still insisted on Venmoing me the exact change every single time. Mom had hip surgery 5 weeks ago, and I'd been helping her ever since, bringing food, tidying up the house, driving her to physical therapy. She hated being helped, even more than I liked helping, but I did it. Not because I'm a saint, because she's my mom. She raised me on her own after my dad left when I was 8, and as hard as she was on me, she never stopped fighting for us, even when she didn't have much. So yeah, I owed her 100 grocery runs and then some. I parked my car outside the store, slid my keys into my jacket pocket, and grabbed my reusable bags from the back seat. The parking lot was only half full. It was that quiet window between early church crowds and the Sunday rush. Inside the store, everything smelled like lemons and fresh bread. I remember that clearly, which is strange now. I remember pushing my cart past the produce section, glancing at my phone to check Mom's text message one more time. She had added eggs and almond milk to the list at the last minute. I wasn't in a bad mood. I wasn't in a great one either. Just tired. I'd been working long hours from home for the past few weeks. I'm a web designer, mostly for small businesses. My latest client had been texting me at odd hours about color palettes. I hadn't had a proper day off in a while, and even when I wasn't working, I was on call for my mom. That's not a complaint. That's just how it was. I had gotten used to being alone. I lived in a quiet tree-lined suburb about 10 minutes from her house. I had no husband, no kids, no roommates. My house was small, but I liked it that way. It was peaceful, predictable. Kids were never part of the plan, not because I didn't like them. I did, in small doses. But motherhood never pulled at me the way it did some of my friends. I had a few nieces and nephews from cousins on my dad's side, but they lived in Texas. My closest family was my mom and my sister Angela, except Angela had been gone for 6 years. I don't talk about her much anymore, not because I don't care. It just hurts. She was 2 years older than me, wild, complicated. We were close when we were kids, but as we grew up, we became different people. She made a lot of choices I didn't understand. She got caught up in things she couldn't handle. She was brilliant but self-destructive, and when the overdose happened, I wasn't surprised. That's the worst part. I wasn't surprised. It was messy and sad and unfinished. There was no closure, just the hole she left behind. So now it was just me and Mom and the grocery store. And this ordinary Sunday, I moved through the aisles quickly. Apples, check. Eggs, check. Chicken. The rotisserie stand was fully stocked, thankfully. I picked out a hot one and wrapped it in another bag so the juices wouldn't leak. I was just about to head toward the dairy aisle when I noticed something small out of the corner of my eye. A little girl, standing just inside the entrance. She was alone. At the time, it barely registered. Kids wander away from their parents all the time in stores. I assumed she was with someone nearby. I didn't stare. I just kept going. I turned into the freezer aisle to grab Mom's favorite almond milk. It was the last item on my list. My phone buzzed in my jacket pocket, and I checked it. Another text from Mom asking for an update. I smiled, typing out a quick, almost done reply. She hated feeling like a burden. She always asked if I was sure I didn't mind doing all this. I was about to hit send when I felt the tap on my shoulder. It was so light I almost thought I imagined it. But then I turned, and a woman I'd never seen before gave me a warm smile and said, "Your daughter is beautiful?" Those words didn't make sense at first. I actually laughed a little, unsure how to respond. "I don't have a daughter," I told her. She looked past me. Her smile disappeared. Her eyes darkened with worry. She said, "She's been following you since the park." Everything inside me tightened, and when I turned around, that same little girl was standing there again, closer this time. She looked up at me with big brown eyes and asked the question that changed everything. "Can we go home now, Mommy?" Now, I didn't know what to do. She was still holding my hand like it belonged to her. Her tiny fingers wrapped around mine, steady and warm. She wasn't trembling. She wasn't crying. She looked up at me with quiet expectation, as if she'd known me forever and this moment was supposed to happen. I looked around the grocery store again. The dairy refrigerators buzzed softly behind us. The woman who had spoken to me earlier had disappeared. A man passed by with a basket of frozen waffles and did a double take when he saw us, probably wondering why a child was calling someone who clearly wasn't her mother, Mommy. I knelt down again, this time more slowly. "Sweetheart, I'm not your mommy," I said. "Do you know where your parents are? Did you come here with someone?" She stared at me. I couldn't read her expression. She wasn't scared or confused. If anything, she looked patient, like she was waiting for me to stop asking and start understanding. "My name is Lena," I said gently. "Can you tell me your name?" Nothing. "What about your last name? Or how old you are? Do you know where you live?" Still no answer. Then finally she whispered, "Eliza." Her voice was so soft I almost missed it. "Eliza," I repeated. "That's a beautiful name. Eliza, are you lost?" She hesitated, then shook her head. I paused. "Okay. Are you here alone?" Another shake. "Did someone bring you here?" This time she gave the faintest nod. "Who brought you?" "You," she said. My blood turned cold. She wasn't playing. She wasn't giggling or being silly. She believed it. I stood up and gently tried to release her grip, but she held on tighter. Not in a panicked way, just firm. Like she was afraid I would leave. I pulled my phone from my pocket and walked us toward the customer service desk near the entrance. I needed help. I needed someone who could figure out what to do, because I was completely out of my depth. The manager behind the counter looked up from paperwork. "Hi, can I help you?" This little girl says I'm her mother," I said. "I've never seen her before. She's not mine." Someone said she's been following me since the park. I don't know what to do." He looked over the counter at Eliza. "Has she said her name?" "She told me it's Eliza," I said, "but that's all. She won't let go of my hand." He gave a nod and picked up a walkie-talkie. A few seconds later, a store security guard arrived, a younger guy named Mitch. He was calm but serious. "Do you mind stepping into the office just for a moment?" he asked. I followed them with Eliza still holding my hand. Inside the small security office, there were 2 chairs and a computer monitor showing the camera feeds from the store. Mitch offered Eliza a juice box, but she didn't even look at it. She sat on the chair next to mine and leaned against my arm. "We'll call the police," Mitch said. "They'll know how to handle this. Did you say she was following you?" I nodded. I didn't even notice her until a woman pointed it out. She said the girl had been behind me since I came from the park down the street. "And you've never seen her before today?" Never. Mitch turned toward the camera footage. He clicked through the timestamps. Sure enough, there she was, just behind me in every frame since I entered the store. Walking quietly, not grabbing anything, just watching me. The police arrived within 10 minutes. 2 officers, a man and a woman. They asked me to explain everything again. I tried to keep my voice steady as I answered. I could hear Eliza coloring on a piece of paper one of them had given her, crayons scratching softly on the desk. The female officer knelt beside her. "Hi, Eliza, can you tell me where you live?" Eliza didn't answer. "What about your mommy's name? Or your daddy's?" She looked at me. "She's right here." The officer gave me a measured look. "Do you know this child at all? Family friend? Neighbor?" I shook my head. "I swear I've never seen her before. I don't have kids. I live alone." They asked for my ID, which I handed over. They took a few photos of Eliza for their report and called in to check for any missing child cases in the area, but nothing came up. No one had reported a little girl named Eliza missing. No family was looking for her. No Amber Alerts. Nothing on the system. One of the officers asked if I'd be willing to stay while they contacted social services. I said yes. I didn't know what else to do. I wasn't going to walk away from her. She curled up beside me on the bench. I placed my hand on my lap, and she reached for it again. The way she gripped it, like it meant something, shook me in a way I couldn't explain. I didn't know who this little girl was, but I could feel that something wasn't right, and it wasn't just the situation. It was something in her eyes, like she already knew me, like she had been waiting for me. I stayed at the store for 3 hours. During that time, I watched 5 different people try to talk to Eliza. The police, a paramedic, a representative from Child Protective Services. None of them got more than a few words out of her. She never cried, never asked for anything. She just stayed close to me, like she had already decided where she belonged. At first, I thought she was just scared or confused, maybe traumatized, but after a while, I started to realize something else. She wasn't acting like a lost child. She was acting like a child who had found something or someone. Every time someone tried to separate us, she would get tense. Her body would go rigid, and her fingers would tighten around mine. If I stepped out of the room to take a call or get water, she would stare at the door until I came back. The moment I walked in again, she would relax. She trusted me, and I didn't know why. I sat there with a million questions I couldn't answer. Where had she come from? Who was taking care of her before this? Why wasn't anyone looking for her? Why did she call me Mommy? The police tried to reassure me. They said sometimes kids fixate on someone when they're under stress, that she might have seen me at the park and latched on, that she'd likely been through something that made her regress emotionally. They asked if I was willing to let CPS take over from there. They would get her to a safe place, they said, a temporary foster home until they could locate a relative or guardian. They thanked me for being cooperative, for staying calm. I nodded and told them I understood. But the truth was, I didn't feel calm. I felt protective. I didn't know what I was doing, but every part of me was screaming that I shouldn't let her go. Not yet. Not until I had answers. Not until I knew she would be okay. When the social worker arrived, Eliza was sitting beside me on the office bench, head resting against my arm. She looked small and sleepy, her fingers still wrapped gently around mine. The woman introduced herself as Jackie. She had kind eyes and a soft voice. She crouched down to Eliza's level and said, Hi there, honey. My name is Jackie. I'm going to take you somewhere safe tonight, okay? Eliza didn't respond. She didn't even look at her. Then she did something I wasn't ready for. She reached up and wrapped both arms around me. Not in panic, not in fear, it was trust. Complete, unconditional trust. "Please don't leave me again," she whispered. Again. That word punched through my chest. I looked at Jackie. "Can I stay with her? Just for tonight?" Jackie gave me a sympathetic smile. "Unfortunately, that's not how it works. There's a process. Paperwork, licensing. She needs to be placed with someone cleared for emergency foster care." "I understand," I said. "But she's terrified. Look at her. She won't even look at anyone else." Jackie hesitated, then turned to one of the officers. He stepped aside to make a call. 10 minutes later, they came back with a proposal. I could apply for temporary custody as a kinship hold, assuming I was willing to be fingerprinted and interviewed immediately. It was unusual, but given Eliza's behavior and the fact that she responded only to me, they were willing to process me through a temporary exception, pending background checks. "Is there any chance you might actually be related to her?" Jackie asked. "No," I said automatically. I would know. But even as I said it, something in my stomach twisted. She looked like Angela. Not exactly, but there was something in the eyes, the shape of her mouth. It wasn't obvious, but now that I was looking closely, I saw it. I pushed the thought aside. This child couldn't be connected to my sister. Angela had no kids. She never talked about wanting them, and if she had, I would have known. Wouldn't I? I signed the paperwork anyway. They took my fingerprints, ran a background check, and walked me through the next steps. I would have to appear in court within a week. I would need to speak to a family investigator. I would have to keep Eliza safe and supervised until the state figured out who she was. None of it felt real. When I opened the passenger door to my car and buckled Eliza into the back seat, my hands were trembling. She looked up at me with sleepy eyes. "Do we live far?" she asked. I smiled, not knowing how to answer. "No," I said, "not too far." She leaned her head against the window. On the way home, she started humming, a soft little tune with no words. My throat tightened. Angela used to hum like that, all the time. I didn't sleep much that first night. Eliza curled up on the couch under a soft blanket, her stuffed bunny tucked under her chin. I sat nearby in the armchair, watching her chest rise and fall with each breath. My house was quiet, dimly lit, still. It should have felt peaceful, but it didn't. It felt like I was holding my breath for something I couldn't name. The next morning, I got a call from Detective Carson, one of the officers who had handled the grocery store report. He asked if I could come in to answer a few more questions. I agreed, packed some snacks in a Ziploc bag, and loaded Eliza into the car. When we got to the station, Carson met us at the front desk and led us down the hall to a small, windowless room. He nodded at the other chair. "You can sit. She can stay with you." Eliza climbed into my lap like she had done it 100 times before. Carson pulled out a thin manila folder and opened it. "We ran the DNA sample we got from Eliza," he said. "We weren't expecting much. No national reports, no local matches in the missing persons database, but something came up we didn't anticipate." My pulse started to pick up. Carson looked at me. His tone shifted from formal to cautious. The system cross-referenced her DNA with people already in the database. It's routine. Usually nothing turns up. This time it did. I nodded slowly, unsure what to say. "You're not her mother," he said, "but there's a strong partial match." I frowned. "Partial? Enough to suggest you're biologically related, very closely." I stared at him. "Are you saying I'm, what, her aunt?" Carson nodded. "That's the most likely relationship based on the genetic markers. Half-sibling, aunt, close cousin. But given the strength of the match, aunt is our working assumption." I felt the words before I fully understood them. Angela. Angela had a child, and I never knew. My mind started spinning. I looked down at Eliza, who was now gently tracing the shape of my hand with her finger. I had spent years grieving my sister, angry at her, confused by the spiral she fell into near the end. She had gone in and out of rehab, made promises, broke them, swore she was getting better, and then vanished for months at a time. The last time I saw her, she was thinner than ever, wearing oversized sunglasses and hugging me like she didn't deserve it. She never said a word about being pregnant. Do you know who her parents were? I asked quietly. Carson flipped through the papers in his folder. Her birth certificate is missing from all formal records, but based on hospital notes tied to her Social Security application, her mother's name was Angela Whitmore. I pressed a hand to my chest, trying to breathe through the shock. She used her real name? Just her first and last. No mention of the father. It looks like the hospital that filed the paperwork may have been told she passed away shortly after. She didn't die from childbirth, I said. No, but it's possible she gave the baby up and told people she had a miscarriage or abortion. I felt like someone had taken a snow globe version of my life and shaken it until the flakes blinded me. All those years I spent grieving my sister. Never once did I think there might be a piece of her still out there. A living, breathing child, a girl with her eyes and her humming voice. Eliza wasn't lost. She had been abandoned, and somehow she had found her way to me. Where has she been all this time? I asked. Foster care? Carson shook his head. She was with a family in Eugene until recently. Friends of your sister. No formal adoption ever went through. The man passed away in a car accident last month. His wife tried to keep Eliza but suffered a stroke shortly after. No legal guardianship. The system stepped in. And she ran? Somehow, yes. From what we can piece together, she may have seen your photos somewhere in that house. We believe she walked several miles, from the edge of the park district, alone. I looked down at Eliza again. Her eyes were closed now, her thumb in her mouth, her small fingers tangled in the edge of my shirt. I didn't know how she found me, but she had. And somehow, in a world filled with millions of strangers, she looked at me and saw something she trusted. A piece of her mother, a piece of family. I signed the papers to begin formal guardianship proceedings that afternoon. There would be hearings, background checks, psychological evaluations. I would have to prove I could care for her, legally and emotionally. It wouldn't be easy, but I knew one thing with absolute certainty. She had been lost long enough, and now she was home. It's been 6 months since that day in the grocery store. 6 months since a little girl called me Mommy and turned my world inside out. We live together now, permanently. After weeks of interviews, court visits, home inspections, and psychological assessments, the judge signed the order declaring me Eliza's legal guardian. It felt surreal. The paper was crisp, official, clinical. But when I looked at her and said, "We're family now," she just smiled and nodded like she already knew. She had always known. Raising her hasn't been easy. She came to me with scars I couldn't see at first. Some nights she wakes up crying, but won't say why. She's still quiet in crowds. Still doesn't like when I leave the room for too long, even if I just go to the kitchen. She needs routine, stability, a steady hand, and a calm voice. I'm learning to be all those things, even on the days when I feel like I'm failing. I used to think parenting was about being prepared, having the right gear, the right mindset, the perfect lifestyle. I had none of that. I had mismatched plates and a schedule that barely worked for me. I didn't even own a nightlight until Eliza moved in. But now I know. Parenting is showing up. Every single day, it's making grilled cheese the way she likes it, cutting the crusts off, letting her pick the bedtime story, even when it's the same one 4 nights in a row. It's holding her hand at the dentist, helping her learn to ride a bike, telling her she's safe, that she's wanted, that she's loved, again and again, until she finally believes it. My mother had questions, a lot of them. When I told her everything, she sat in silence for a long time. Then she looked at me and said, "Angela never told me either. I would have helped if I'd known." There was no anger in her voice, just regret. She comes over now more than ever. She reads to Eliza, teaches her old songs from our childhood, calls her my brave little bug. Watching them together sometimes breaks my heart a little. It reminds me of all the years Angela spent in pain, all the things she was carrying that she never let us see. I still don't have all the answers. I may never know why my sister kept her daughter a secret or why Eliza found me when she did. But I do know this. Grief didn't end with Angela's death. It just changed form. It became responsibility. It became the space I had to make for someone new, someone who didn't just need a roof and food, but a future. Eliza is thriving now. She laughs more. She draws all the time. She covers the fridge with crayon suns and purple houses with 3 stick figures, me, her, and our cat, Penny. She hums while she colors, soft and steady, just like Angela did. I never told her about that, she just does it. One morning, I asked her if she remembered the day we met. She nodded. "You followed me through the store," I said. "Why me?" She shrugged like it was the most obvious answer in the world. "Because you looked like home." Those 4 words undid me. All the self-doubt, all the fear, all the questioning of whether I was enough, whether I was just a placeholder until someone more qualified showed up. Because you looked like home. I think about that all the time now. How many people walk through life feeling invisible? How many children are passed from house to house without ever finding someone who truly sees them? She found me. Or maybe, in some strange way, we found each other. Every time I set her lunchbox on the counter or help her zip up her coat, I feel it, that small, steady heartbeat of purpose. I didn't expect her. I didn't ask for her, but she became mine and I became hers. And sometimes life gives you exactly what you need, long before you know you're ready. She calls me Mom now, not Mommy, not Lena, just Mom. The first time she said it, I was pouring milk into her cereal bowl. It was quiet, casual, effortless. "Thanks, Mom." I almost dropped the spoon, but I didn't cry. I smiled and said, "You're welcome, sweetheart." Because after everything we've been through, after every unanswered question, every difficult night, and every small victory, the truth is simple. She was never a stranger. She was family. Thank you for listening to my story. This wasn't something I ever imagined I'd share with the world, but if it reached you, if it made you feel something or reminded you how powerful connection can be, then I'm glad I did. If this story moved you or made you think about someone in your life a little differently, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below. I read them, and they mean more than you know. If you felt something while watching this, whether it was shock, sadness, or even a little bit of hope, please like the video and share it with someone who might need it. You never know whose story you might help bring to light. And if you want to hear more true, personal stories like this one, stories about life, family, the unexpected, and everything in between, make sure to subscribe to the channel. There's so much more to come. Take care of each other. Take care of yourself. And remember, sometimes the people we're meant to love find us in the most unexpected ways.